I want to be very clear at the beginning of this video. This is not the afterthoughts. I'm still waiting on more comments to be submitted since they are still being put out, and I wanted to also wait for the chapter to be released on Sunday so that I can compare and contrast the translations so that we can get a better grasp on the bigger picture from both sides of things. But I couldn't wait until Sunday. The moment that I arrived home and I sat down in the chair, I had two options. A, go on the computer and get some stuff done, and or B, sit in front of this camera and talk about my dog Joy Boy. And I'm gonna sit in front of the camera today and talk about one panel, all right? I just want to talk about one panel because I can't get over it. I don't know how it exists. I don't know how it's a reality. I don't know how we're standing here in a situation, a point in time in the story, 500 chapters after he was originally revealed, getting more stuff on our Joy Boy. And the thing is the more stuff we get, the more excited I become. And after last week's chapter 1114, where we found out the truth that Nika and Joy Boy are actually two separate entities, we were all thinking about, okay, what does that mean for the overall grand scheme of the story? And like last night we talked about in the post-stream discussion, as somebody brought up the truth of the matter, into which both Nika and Joy Boy are brought up with the island that is associated with that time period, right? So if we're talking about the ancient times, right, with Skypia and Elbaf, those individuals speak of Nika very highly, right? Of the sun god Nika. Then of course, well, we also heard of that a little bit in Wano, but mainly in Wano, as well as mainly in Fisherman Island, and now in Egghead, we have truly been hitting the high degrees of Joy Boy greatness. And so what I want to sit here and talk about today is just ramble on about, I can't believe this chapter exists. I just can't, man. Like, I knew we were going to get this eventually, but the fact that in this week's chapter of One Piece, we have a panel where there are 3 of the ancient kings, which I assume means or these swords around them and these spears around these individuals. To me, that lets me know that those swords that they are carrying within this panel are also the same swords that are on the empty throne. And so if that's the case, they are sitting here in the final battle against the main man himself. Do you know what it is for Imu to go out of his way? Our instant messenger Sama, an individual who, by the way, based on his reaction at the end of the chapter, got me even more excited for what Oda has cooking for Imu. Because I was expecting a full-blown cartoon villain-esque explosion, the classic Akainu cigar, take the cigar and blast it into Team Rocket smithereens, because something's not going my way. But Imu's not like that. Imu is hearing everything that he has attempted to keep under control is at this point in time being broadcasted to the planet as a whole. Everyone from Foxy to DeMarco Black, all right, all the way from our guy DeMarco Black to flippin' Foxy to Vivi to Miss Golden Week to Shushu. They are all hearing this broadcast. Imu understands that everyone is now getting to learn more and more about the true history they have tried so hard to keep legit and actually under the sea, dude. They buried this like it was a treasure. The true history of the One Piece verse, sort of accentuates the adventure aspect of the story. The fact that Vegapunk is putting the pieces together, kind of like the viewers have been forced to put the pieces together and come to our own conclusions, made this chapter extremely satisfying. Because we have come to these same conclusions that Vegapunk came to, so it's like, oh man, we were on the right track. And that's thanks to Oda's masterful planning from the beginning of the story until now, and how all these things have been meticulously put into place. But when you look at an Imu, who has been the most meticulous of them all, to put all of these things in a way where it was almost ensured that no one would ever find out about these things ever again. Even going as far as to our thoughts on this and our thoughts on the matter, especially coming out of last night's discussion, is that Emu more than likely is using the fruits to keep these individuals under control for real, which is why his biggest officers on the Marine side are all very prevalent fruit users, right? You look at Akainu, you look at Borsellino, you look at Kuzan, you look at Fujitora, look at Green Bull as the main admirals throughout the course of the story, and these are all fruit users. Even Sengoku. Now, the ones that don't have it, Garp, you can't control him. Like, it's been in our face the entire time. But actually seeing it here is quite interesting. Quite interesting. And so, when we get to a scenario where they are trying so hard, we see how the Gorosi are panicking. We had a panel in this chapter where I believe it was Workery, Moltres, and Nusturo, if I'm not mistaken, were going nuts, trying to ensure that they could do something about this thing, right? Nothing. They couldn't do a single thing, but it was that moment of desperation that made us as the reader understand that what he was about to say is out of this world important. And what he continues to say is extremely important to all of us, culminating in the truth of the verse, right? The biggest truth, the biggest reveal in the entire story up until this point, and one of my favorite panels in the entire series. And the ancient world was swallowed by the ocean. We're now living atop of the remnants, continental fragments of the land masses that once were. I mean, this panel by itself is just sensational, but when you tie it back to so many other things like the Jinbei cover story, what we saw in Wano, the fact this is a pirate manga taking place over the sea, it just puts the entire thing, it recontextualizes the entire series. And so for an Emu that did not want to happen, I could not wait to see Emu's response. So when we got to the end of the chapter, and I was joking around that he had a dragon-esque line here with the ... I was thoroughly, I was blown away. I was blown away because Emu still seems calm, composed, not necessarily like all this is going according to plan, but as if, okay, y'all want to have it this way? You can have it this way. Y'all want to deal with this again? Y'all want me to reset the verse again? Y'all want to get Leloucian? That's fine with me. I ain't got no problem with that. And it's that type of energy. The way that Emu has been presented from chapter 906 until this point that makes Emu, I said a while ago that dragon and crocodile, your dragons, your crocodiles, your shanks characters years ago were like the most interesting, mysterious figures in the entire verse. And then as we found out more about Rox and Nika and Joy Boy and all of these characters, they then took those spots. But now, Emu, after his reveal, continues to get more and more interesting. And the more the Emu speaks and or doesn't speak, we get a clear picture of what this individual is all about. And so with this chapter combined with chapters 1086, 1085, 1084, 1060, and 906 to 908, Oda is building one of the greatest character introductions, a slow burn of a character introduction that I've ever seen. It was reminiscent to some things that I've seen in other stories in the Trail series and within Kubera, the webtoon, where you see there are certain figures that are slowly but surely introduced, and we get to figure out more and more bits and pieces about him. Oda's very good at this. He's very, very good at this. But those initial introductions are always very powerful. Emu, not only was his introduction extremely powerful, and one of the most mind-bending twists in the series that we still don't understand what it is with a giant straw hat. Just look at it. He continues to build upon that mystery to the point where at the end of this chapter, like I said, I was expecting Emu to explode. Nothing. The Great War is still ongoing to this day. What does that tell me? Emu probably knew he was preparing for this. Put out Luffy and Blackbeard's bounty posters, put out Vivi's poster. Emu was like, it's almost time. It's almost time. once Nika was revealed once again in the Gear 5 poster, oof, it's almost that time. Started testing out the weapon. Lucia, let's go ahead and see if this thing works, just in case we have to do this again. And it worked. And Emu is still in control of the situation. I still firmly believe we are in for an Emu face reveal very soon. But the more I thought about what Oda has done with Emu throughout the course of the story, the more intertwined I felt like it is with Joy Boy's story. And so, it's so cool to me how we've gotten these little bits of hearsay of Joy Boy, right? Like, we've literally seen Emu as a silhouette at multiple different points. We've heard things of Joy Boy through his companions and through, of course, the apology letter, the existence of the poneglyphs, the individuals who, like a king or a Kaido, the way they refer to this figure that seems like grander than anything that we've seen, even above something like a Goldie Roger, whom everyone highly respects as being the Pirate King. Joy Boy is like, it goes something even further beyond that. And so these two very prominent historical figures that were hidden for 800 years are now about to be introduced to the world at the same time. Because the way that I'm looking at it is, if Oda wants to continue these parallels with Joy Boy and Emu, which I'm sure are going to be super prominent when we get into the Void Century flashback, what he's going to do is show us what I believe is Joy Boy and Emu at around the same time. We already have glimpses of that with this chapter. Enjoy our first ever look at Joy Boy. I would not be surprised, now that we have the Joy Boy silhouette, and Oda has gotten comfortable with that, and now that the world knows about Joy Boy, that Emu's next. I would not be surprised if Emu's declaration back to Vegapunk and back to all the individuals who want to do something against him is to show himself to the world. Y'all want to do something about it? Cool. Let me step out of the shadows. Let me show my face. Let me tell y'all what I did to that boy Joy Boy. Let me tell you what I did to the planet. Let me tell you what I did to the sea levels on throughout the entire planet Earth. Let me tell you what I did in rewriting the course of history. History is written by the victors, and I took that literally. Instant Messenger Sama is due for one of these series' greatest moments coming in soon. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be a conversation with the Gorosei. I don't know if it's going to be going down to the catacombs once more and looking at that Joy Boy straw hat, and we get like a little miniature flashback where we then get the face reveal. I don't know if Joy Boy if Emu zooms out of the flower chamber here, the butterfly capital, and goes over and just pains. Now the world shall know pain over the entire planet. It's like, yo, y'all want to know where I was at this whole time? I'm right here. You probably didn't know that I existed. That was all according to my calculations, and that was all according to what I wanted y'all to believe. But know that someone is sitting on that empty throne. I wanted y'all to have this illusion of freedom. I wanted you guys to have an illusion of power. And I also wanted you guys to have this illusion that everything that you do is according to your free will and your control. But let me tell you something, that is not the case in the slightest. I am in control of all of your destinies. I am in control of this entire planet. The whole world is in my hands. What are you going to do about it? And right above him, he has Uranus. He has the thing that is capable of taking out islands in an instant. What are you going to do against a dude that, as we saw against Sabo, he was able to dodge all 5 of the Gorosei in the same forms we see them in Egghead, but he could not dodge the arrow by the good brother Emu. Now listen, with all that being said, the more we find out about Emu, the more we have to find out about Joy Boy. And so in my head canon, we're about to get some humongous stuff, obviously, in post-Egghead, for both Emu and Joy Boy. I don't think we'll get the Joy Boy face reveal until we get into the flashback, because that's what Oda does with his flashback characters. He normally does not show their faces until we see the protagonist of the flashback, which, last time it was Odin. This time it's going to be Joy Boy, so I don't expect to see his face until then. But we are going to see more stuff, obviously. Iron Giant is probably going to give us a huge clue. Zunisha, probably in post-Egghead, is going to give us a huge clue. And Emu is going to give us the biggest clue for Joy Boy, as someone who probably is not going to care about hiding information any longer. Like, yo, y'all want to do this? Go ahead. And I'm excited. I can't wait to see Emu go into full-blown... This is the same individual that blew up Leloucia, specifically because it was close. Like you and your local McDonald's, and you don't feel like driving down to Applebee's or Olive Garden because it's 30 minutes away. And McDonald's is 5 minutes away, you're like, I'll go there because it's close. Emu treated Leloucia like it was a McDonald's, bro. And I'm not talking about Marine HQ. It's insane. It's insane. So, like I said, Emu is carefully being crafted right now as one of Oda's greatest. We have the most prominent historical figures on the horizon. In Elbaf, we're going to get the Nika stuff. I guarantee it. Because if you notice, every time that Oda's extremely excited for an arc, we always get some groundbreaking stuff. Leading into the time skip, what did we always hear? We always heard Fishman Island, Wano. Fishman Island, Wano. Fishman Island, Wano. I don't know how you feel about those two arcs in your ranking list. But there is no doubt in anyone's mind that those are two of the most important endgame arcs. Because while writing those arcs and coming up with the concepts for those arcs, Oda wrote the stuff about Joy Boy back then in Fishman Island, and the Noah and all that, which is undoubtedly voice entry stuff. And then in Wano, introduced the concepts of Nika, and then brought Joy Boy even further into the picture. And so, Elbaf, which has been the most anticipated arc besides Laugh Tale. We have been looking forward to Elbaf since, people have been reading weekly since 97. Those individuals have been waiting for this since 1999, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe 2000. Little Garden would have been like a chapter, that would have been like in the third year of serialization, so around like 1999, 2000. Little Garden introduced the concept of Elbaf, to which we have been looking forward to ever since then. The Nika stuff in that arc, based on Big Mom's flashback and knowing that the main central organized religion there is for Nika? Listen, man. We are going to be getting something insane in Elbaf from a voice entry standpoint. Jaguar D. Sol is here with all of that information, right? That's going to be a huge arc for Robin, getting a lot of that, allowing us to put even more puzzle pieces together. What's going to be fascinating about this is how then Oda, because I'm going to assume now, we're going to find out the Nika stuff before we get the Joy Boy stuff in the Void Century. So if we're going to get the Nika stuff next, then Oda's going to have these three characters going to be playing around with as he introduces them slowly but surely. Emu, Nika, Joy Boy. Nika right there in the center, right? Representing representing freedom, right? And every sense of the word. So we're going to have, I'm going to assume, as that middle ground, then we're going to see Joy Boy and Emu represent both sides of that spectrum. Somebody who probably believes in unlimited freedom, and the other one who believed in absolute control. So we're going to have two individuals on both sides of that spectrum, both sides of the coin, who are going to parallel each other with Nika as the main center. So when we find out more about Nika next arc, and we have the opportunity to compare and contrast with Joy Boy and Emu, those three characters in unison are going to be absolutely legendary, bro. I'm talking about from a writing standpoint, from a thematic standpoint, they're going to carry what this story is all about on their backs. And so now I'm 100% certain that the main flashback of Elbaf is more than likely going to be the Nika flashback. And because of that, I firmly believe that once we finish Elbaf, we're going to be able to put the pieces together before the advanced civilization was made, that by the time we then go to the following arc, which is Lodestar, I'm going to assume, transitioning into into Laugh-Tale, we're going to have all of the poneglyphs necessary, I'm talking about as the viewer, to put the pieces together before the final puzzle piece is presented before us in the Joy Boy perspective of this entire situation. So I think that when we get to Elbaf and we come out of that arc, because once again, Oda has to spread this information around throughout the course of the narrative, right? You can't just give it to us all at one point in time. The voice entry flashback we all expect to be absolutely legendary. But before we get to that, I am fully expecting, especially if Nika was in Elbaf, I am fully expecting that flashback to take place right then and there. Because now we see there's a clear distinction between that era and the era of Joy Boy. The era of Joy Boy is the most important. That's the one that they've tried to wipe out from history. So, if we go into Elbaf, and due to Jaguar D. Sol, and due to the individuals that are there through the legends, to the histories, to Loki, to Thor, to all of this, we're gonna find out about the true history of Elbaf, going all the way back to Nika and whatever in the world happened there. And then, coming off of that insanity, we will have all of the necessary information to theorize endlessly as we head into the most important flashback in the entire story. Because I think we were all expecting for both flashbacks to be intertwined. Maybe the beginning of the One Piece verse, all the way up until 900 years ago, 800 years ago, where we see the cutoff point, right? Where we would see like maybe the creation of humanity in the One Piece world all the way up until that point. Now I don't think that's going to be the case. Now I do think the flashback is going to be split into two, and for reasons, right? For Oda specified reasons that he has somewhere in his journal about why maybe one fits thematically better here, or maybe this one has pieces of information that I can save and keep for later on. Because obviously, right, we're still waiting on the God Valley stuff too. So I in the middle of my mind running and going through all of this insanity, the major takeaway here with this chapter, with those three prominent figures, so obviously we're going to talk about a lot of the other stuff in the afterthoughts, but I want to talk about Imu, Joy Boy, and Nika here, because I can't stop thinking about them after this chapter. It's clear as day that Oda is very meticulous in building all three of these characters. So when we get to the eventual Void Century flashback, which I'm going to assume is going to be told through two different perspectives, maybe three, in multiple different perspectives, main POVs, Joy Boy and Imu. Of course, we're going to have our Lily POV and our Zunisha, Iron Giant, the other characters that maybe the Gordo say, the prominent characters that were here. But the main central point of views, that we're going to be cutting back to, like in the Bonnie Kuma flashback, is going to be the Imu and the Joy Boy stuff. And like I said, the more we find out about one, the more we're going to find out about the other. So don't be surprised if when we get here into post-Egghead, now that we have seen a panel of Imu fighting against the Ancient Kings, that we get insane stuff. We got more stuff in these last three chapters than I was ever expecting. I thought we were gonna get like an Ancient Kingdom name drop, and that was that. Oda said, no, strap in. We're getting to the full meat and potatoes here of the One Piece world. We're getting to the full, and I'm letting you know right now, the Void Century ends in a tragic tale. He's been telling us the entire series up until this point, but he confirmed it in this chapter. It is going to be as we thought. The Joy Boy flashback, the Void Century flashback, ends in the most tragic way possible, leading into what are we going to do about it? What are the individuals carrying on his will 800 years later going to do about it? A question that I'm sure Imu is going to be posing to the entire planet. If Joy Boy couldn't do it, my greatest adversary, if he couldn't overcome me, no one can. I'm sure that's exactly what he's thinking. Because man, oh man, once we get into that final stage and we see what these individuals are actually capable of, I'm excited, man. I'm so incredibly excited. I mean, just having Nostro being like, Vegapunk, how much do you intend to say? Like, these things they have attempted to hide for so long are just being told to the entire planet. And it's insane. It's insane, and it culminates with Joy Boy and the other individuals there. And then, of course, when we look back at chapter 285 with Lily and that situation that has been the note that has been carried on all the way to Cobra, where he was talking about, you know, the what we assume now is the sinking, right? Like that was that missing line that we didn't see before. It's like, man, it's like, what? I just can't wait. I can't wait. It's like the more stuff we get from Joy Boy, and it's like, does he have a tail in this chapter? Are we dealing with a true Son Goku / Son Wukong situation here with Joy Boy? And it's like, if that's the case, I really can't wait, man. I can't wait to see the color scheme, what Joy Boy's personality is gonna be like. Is he really going to be super similar to Luffy? Like how is he going to be in regards to, because it feels like he's also going to be human, similar to Luffy as well, whereas Nika was the giant. So if that's the case, it's like, man, like, where do we go from here, dude? What happens from this point forward in the story, bro? It's so exciting, and I can't stop thinking about it. Like, specifically when it comes to those three characters, it is it's like he's been so patient with multiple different aspects of his story. But in particular with these three, it feels like we're getting answers, and not only are we getting answers, we're getting like confirmations on things. And with confirmations, you already know are going to come more questions, because that's just how Oda is. So it's like, man, with all of these reveals and with all of these things now coming into the picture, the one who's still alive, with all of that currently weighed on his back in Emu, how is he going to respond to all of this? And then flipping Joy Boy, dude, like, this man, the apologies, the fact they tried to save as many people as possible. Like, it's like, man, I want to know more. It's crazy, because one would think getting more information would be like, oh, I'm less excited for it. No, bro, it's like we're getting a trailer for this voice entry thing, and I can't wait to see more. The more we find out about it, the more I can't wait to see it. And I love the way that he's building this, bro. It's nuts, man. Nostro cut Egghead in half, and that's not my major talking point from this chapter. That in of itself shows you this was a masterclass, masterful chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for me today. The ancient world is swallowed by the ocean. We're now living atop the remnants. I can't stop thinking about this panel. Continental fragments of the landmasses that once were. I will see you guys. Nojiko was in this chapter. I will see you guys. Faye was in this chapter. I will see y'all for the afterthoughts, where we will discuss other elements of this chapter and other things that were part of this chapter. I just really wanted to talk about that and those three characters in particular, because I'm such a character-focused individual, character-centric reader. Where great characters can carry me through anything, right? I don't care how monotonous or whatever is going on. Characters can carry me through anything, right? And as somebody who's studying the craft, I'm always fascinated by the way the characters are introduced, the way that the intricacies of their personalities and their motivations and stuff of that nature are sprinkled in, even in short stories. But in a long story like this, the amount of patience that it takes to craft characters like the ones we discussed in this video is crazy. To have you get extremely excited by silhouettes of characters we've heard of in hearsay in someone like Joy Boy is enough to let me know that, like, what he's doing here is truly something special. But when we finish the chapter with something like this in Emu, and Emu continuously gets more and more interesting, the more we see the character shrouded in so much mystery, man. The Great War is still ongoing, and Luffy's gonna finish the story. I will see y'all, like we talked about last night, I will see y'all for the afterthoughts on either Sunday or Monday, depending, or sometime whenever I get the opportunity to record it. But after the official comes out, because I definitely want to do that. That's gonna be it for me today. I had to get this stuff off my chest. I can't stop thinking about Emu and Joy Boy and all this craziness. So the fact the One Piece world was truly, like, Emu systematically put these things into place, man. It's crazy. It's nuts, man. I can't, man. I can't. It's too good. It's too good. We are living in the best era for this series, man. It's like Oda always said, the final chapter, right? And I've always said the final chapter in his mind means like the final saga, the final arc, right? We're in that final saga, and we're gonna see Oda's no longer holding anything back, and it's just, God, man, Egghead Island, bro. I remember we got a Choi Boy sighting in this chapter. We saw the ancient kingdom in this chapter just underwater. At least they had the old world. Emu, man. I mean, it's crazy.